welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. It's my rabbit's foot acacia tree. Even though I'm here in Florida, don't really have a whole lot of work to do here in the winter time. And so today I think I'm just going to update you on all of my acacia trees. This one can use a little bit of cleaning. This is the rabbit's foot acacia. I think I've had it for a couple years now. I really like it. I like the way that the bark looks kind of aged and everything. At one point, I say at one point, it was about that much taller where it would have been just up out of the picture there a bit. Try to show you a couple pictures here as I go along. And then this year, the last time I did a video on it, I think it might be the only video I have on it, I went ahead and chopped it on down here. And then I did get, part of the things I didn't like about it at that point with the taller tree was that it had no branches over here. I did get one branch to come out on this side. And then it's been regrowing its apex nicely. It started blooming really well over the summer. I was at one point cutting all the blooms off. I didn't want to put any of the energy into making seed pods or anything. But it just kind of seemed like the more I cut the blooms off, the more it just kept right on blooming, so I just gave up after a little while. You can see it's got plenty of seed pods on it. So that's what I'm going to do now. The last couple times I tried to take seed pods off and grow new trees. I tried to take a video and neither one of them worked. This one looks like it's about the right age, old enough to have viable seeds in it. So I'm going to take that one and maybe this one too and give it another shot, but I think my luck with trying to make videos out of it is running out, so I'll just do that. I'll let you guys know how it works out, but I've been letting these go. Little shoots coming off of roots in the trunk just since I repotted it. And since I did that, it started sprouting those. I thought maybe it might help spread the nabari out a little bit. If they re-sprout over the winter, I may let them go again, but right now I'm just going to, like I said, trying to clean the whole tree up. I noticed that the new apex, instead of going straight up like sometimes you might expect, like I'm sure it would on my sweet acacia, kind of not really dying back. Like there's even a seed pod out here where it had a bloom, but it lost all the green back to about here. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it back to that. Here's that new branch that sprouted on this side that I was missing. If you think about the way those taller pictures look, it only had these two branches and then like another one here, and then just a big bare trunk until it had like somewhat an apex. I think maybe this might be a little dieback right here too. I might take that back just until there's some green. We do get a lot of trees in Florida that are what are considered kind of semi-deciduous, and sometimes they'll keep plenty of greenery on them and then just kind of get some bare looking branches that come back in the spring. But that one looked kind of a bit on the, I don't know how to put it, like shriveled upside. Alright, looking much cleaner. Can't wait to see what it looks like in the spring. Hopefully it flowers again like it did this year. I'm going to go get the sweet acacia. Alright, and here is the sweet acacia. Kind of just looking like a hot mess. This part here, off the camera, I try to adjust a little bit, but I was planning on taking that off anyway. I was actually, this end here, from about here up, had just probably 15, 20 blooms on there, and I was trying to wait to make this video until they you know, until you could actually see them turn yellow. Hopefully, maybe I could even say that they smelled really good, because that's why it's called a sweet acacia. I guess they make perfume out of it and stuff. But all of a sudden, it's just gone. I don't know if some kind of wildlife likes to eat those blooms off, or maybe they just fell off, because we did have a couple nights around 40 degrees, or not 40 degrees, but about 49 degrees or so. But let's see if I can show you the couple blooms that are still left on this branch here before I prune them off. And you see that one there, just starting to turn a little bit yellow. And there's a few really small ones around it. I think I'm going to wind up pruning that branch off. You see some other little blooms just coming out there. Last year it had a ton, and I got some seed pods, and I had really good success with those. Matter of fact, I'm going to update you on the seedlings in a minute. This summer I put wire on a few of them, and I think I got some interesting looking results. I'll go ahead and pull these guy wires off here before I start really looking and pruning anything. I did at one point get a little bit of wire on this, but I think that's when I had envisioned a much taller tree. And now that I've got all those seedlings, I have to admit, I kind of wish I would have done something with this one when it was much younger, just to get some movement in the trunk here. Of course, when I did buy it when it was much younger, at one point I was thinking I was going to put it in my yard as a landscape tree. I actually bought it before I was even into the hobby. Really does it. All new growth, this thing just all goes straight up and all seems to want to go towards the middle, kind of grow over top of each other. I might cut that branch back even further after I take a look at what this thing looks like here. I did give it after I collected the seed pods this spring. I know for sure when I give this camera back to Mr. Hofeld, I'm going to have to get him a new battery pack. I was just kind of happily chatting away while I was pruning here, and noticed the battery ran out again. But I was trying to say that after I got those seed pods off early this spring, I did give it a rather hard chop back, just simply because it was just getting kind of leggy. And again, I think the hopes of kind of getting a full, taller acacia were not coming to was not coming to fruition here. So I went ahead and just chopped it back pretty hard. Reacted fairly decently, but it does get just, I was saying, it just gets some unfortunate, just straight up and straight towards the middle growth. And I'm going to show you one more thing before I go getting the seedlings in here. I think this is pretty interesting. First off, a lot of people don't really like the lichen, but this thing is just covered up in lichen. And then got a little air plant going there. And I enjoy them. The air plant will come right off, causes no harm to the plant. The lichen causes no harm to the plant either. I know I see a lot of people in the bonsai Facebook groups ask about taking it off with a toothbrush or something like that. I like to leave it on there. It definitely gives the tree an aged look. But let's go get the seedlings. Alright, and here's a quick look at all the seedlings. There are two that I have planted in the ground outside. They're quite a bit bigger than these. Most of these have been chopped at least one time. That's one of the things I realized with that other tree with the straight trunk on it. Not only that, I could have chopped it a little more often, maybe built up a little more taper to it too. And so I've been trying to chop these a little more. I did want to take a closer look at a few of them. There'll be a couple that I think I might kind of slip pot. Not really the right time of the year for potting, but again, I've got plenty here to experiment with. If I lose a couple, it really isn't all that big of a deal. But there is this one. This one, which in that container there that I keep them in, sometimes that holds water and then they kind of get that. You'd think the holding water would be bad for them, but they seem to kind of want to tap the water out of there. And then also this one, and then I'll pick a couple others to work on here in a minute. Alright, these are the three that I picked out. I repotted all 3 of these, and I got some wire on these 2, but not this one, in July. I actually think that maybe this one, since I really got the most movement out of this one, I may have actually even repotted it a little before that, and it was a little more sturdy in there, where this one I wasn't able to get quite as much movement out of. But I'm just going to start working on them here and kind of move them out of the way as I get done, just so that they're out of the way. Obviously, I'm not going to repot any of these 3. So this one's got a secondary branch coming off here. When I repotted this one, for some reason, maybe it wasn't really all that tight in the pot, I decided not to get any wire on it. So I am going to try to chop it. And again, I won't be doing the same thing on every one of them or anything like that. Just trying to see if I can build some taper, and like I said, you know, have them turn out a little bit better than that other one. That other one now is about 4.5 years old. These are basically born in March. The video I made of them was in April, so I'm going to guess they germinated probably around March. This one I'm not sure I'm going to do anything with. There's those roots coming out of the bottom. If any of you guys ever work with these things, they sure got a funky smell with the roots. Wire's not really biting in, so no need to adjust that or anything. Kind of is getting a little leggy there, and there's a couple lower branches there. Maybe one of those can become the apex. I'll choose one of those to cut back soon enough. With that one, I think that's all I'll do with that one. This one though, you know, I don't know, that angle that I took that picture on makes these look a lot bigger in that picture that I showed you guys just a second ago with these. But you know, I had the wire going this way with the hopes that this would become the tree, and of course then it sprouts this guy. And so I'm going to go ahead and take that whole thing off. Just, you know, its apical tendency just took over there, started a new branch there, and just started growing out there instead of here. And then I'm just going to take a quick look at the wire here. It might be biting in a little bit too much. I'd like to leave it. Let me take a look. Alright, and keeping in mind it is just a seedling. It was biting in just a little bit down there, and it's not really up here at all. Let's see if I can't put a little more movement in it and maybe turn that up just a little more. Hopefully that'll become the apex. Should be interesting. We'll see what happens. Man, these thorns are something else. This one has a secondary branch coming off this way, fairly low, and so I'm just going to leave it in the pot it's in and take the main part off there and see what that turns out next year. Should both give it a little bit of movement and taper. This one, at one point, well, it's still there. I had this little wire on the side, kind of like a little guy wire. And I was trying to make more movement maybe whenever I repot it, and perhaps maybe even reveal a little more of the trunk with some movement coming right out of the substrate. And it's got some secondary branching going on here, but I'm going to go down to the lowest one here. That branch is going that way. You can see it's even kind of new there. Hopefully we don't get a freeze here anytime soon. Well, I say freeze. We never get a freeze here. We get some lows in the upper 30s. These are native to this area and everything, so they all should be fine. I got these two. This one's got, again, secondary branch coming right there. And so I'm going to take that one out. This one's got one even lower. I'm even going to go ahead and get pretty brave with that guy and go down to that. Here's one that was in that container. All those nice fresh roots coming out of the bottom there. And trim those off. And I'm going to just go back to right there. It's the first branch coming off the side there. That's all I'm going to do with that one. This is one of the tallest ones that does not have any side branching. Got leaves, but it doesn't have any side branching at all. Not even up here in the apex. So I'm going to try to get a little bit of wire on it. I think there's still some good flexibility left in it. With these thorns here, I'm not even going to attempt that on camera. I'm going to try to get some wire on it off camera and see what happens. Alright, so it turns out it is still good and flexible. Wire goes right up to here, and so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and cut that off to there. And this is the one I am going to repot, and I'll put it with these other ones. I may have to repot that one. That one actually, in that thing, when I say they hold water, they don't really hold water, but some of them drain a little slow. This one kind of sitting in some water there. So I might get some wire on that one. This one, actually, let me go ahead and think about that one for a second. I only really wanted to repot a couple of them. This one, now that I am bleeding my own blood from the last one I just did there, this one does have a really tiny branch there. And so I'm going to go ahead and just chop that off and try not to wire but one more today. And I guess I'm going to try to get some wire on this guy too, see what happens. Alright, I was able to get some movement in there too. Didn't draw too much more blood. Go ahead and cut it off the wire again. And then I think since this one was the one that's kind of sitting in some water, I'm going to go ahead and repot that one first. I didn't go with my normal potting setup. These are just very small. I don't really plan on doing a whole lot of root trimming other than maybe just breaking up where it was root bound a little bit. Again, this is the one that was kind of sitting in some water. Smells a little extra more pungent than most of the other ones did. Really look all that bad or anything. It looks about the same as what I was expecting out of the other ones. So just I'm going to put it in something a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, and let some of this stuff fall into the bottom of that. And also just break up just a little bit of the roots. Again, not doing any kind of a rough repot of any sort, just teasing out the roots a little bit. And there we go. Just a little more substrate in the bottom there. Should be an interesting repot to do in about a year and a half maybe or so. This one being terracotta, I don't have very many. I've got mini pots, and then I've got like 6-inch bulb pans. I don't really have any medium-sized ones. So this one being terracotta, it always just has just a big drain hole at the bottom. And so I'll take off some of that topsoil. I planted the seeds in just potting mix, normal potting mix, not any kind of good substrate. And then again, just break up those bottom roots a little bit. Maybe get this one a little bit, leave the substrate level kind of low, and maybe hope to leave this one in a little bit longer than I might that other one. And I know that once these acacia do grow quite a bit like that, they'll get very shall we say kind of top heavy in the wind. So I'll leave the substrate a little bit lower than I did in the other one. Alright, I think I'm just going to pick one of these to do, and I think this one will fit into that container I have outside a little bit better, where this one doesn't because it's square. So I think I'm going to do this one, plus it's so close to the substrate now where I have it chopped down that low. Got this one in a rectangular training pot, which really isn't any deeper than this one. It's just a little bit wider more than anything. Another reason I chose to do this one is that one had the most shallow amount of dirt, and you can even see here where the taproot was having to turn some there. So what I might actually even do is change this angle just a little bit on this one. If this was my only seedling, I would never do this, but I can afford to, you know, like I mentioned before, I can afford to lose one or two if something happens. And I can afford to lose them all. Be ashamed to put all the time and effort into them, but still. And I think I might do something like an angle about like that. And actually the length of this pot may help me even do just that. And the way that is, it'll kind of slowly start to try to straighten itself over time. But now that that root that was twisting in the pot there is at a little bit of a better angle. We'll see what happens.